Welcome to Sold with Webinars, a podcast that aims to uncover how the most successful experts, coaches, consultants, and e-course professionals sell their products and services with just one sales presentation or webinar. A simple sales webinar can transform the business and life of a solopreneur. And this podcast will show you how other experts just like you are generating 6 and 7 figures per year online with their webinars. So let's get started. Hey, what's going on, experts? It's Joel here with another very special episode of Sold with Webinars. And guys and gals, I did a solo podcast for you today, and it's a very, very special one. What I talked about today is, so I just finished doing a bunch of trainings for my group today. And today I want to talk about getting the most mileage out of your webinar. And also, we're going to briefly talk about my latest webinar critique that I did from the mega funnel, what I liked about it, what I loved about it, and what I didn't love about it, right? So we're going to talk about a lot of things in this relatively short episode. I think it's only about 7 or 8 minutes, but it's super, super jam-packed. I like these shorter ones for you because they're easy to consume and high impact, high value. I also went to a movie tonight, and we talked about that at the very end. Anyway, just some interesting tidbits. So, without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. Hey, what's going on, experts? All right, so today I want to pop in and talk about something really interesting that happened today. So earlier today, so today's podcast, I don't even know what I'm going to call it yet, but I almost want to call it like the mega webinar funnel. Anyway, this is going to be a really fascinating podcast today. It's going to be a really fascinating story. I did a lot of recording today, did a lot of meetings. We had a blast in our Sold with Webinars groups. If you guys aren't a part of the Sold with Webinars Facebook group, make sure you go join it. Today, we had 2 live trainings in there. One was, had a couple of ads experts that have literally managed millions of dollars specifically in the expert space. They've run a lot of webinar ads, and we did something special. I got them to donate their time and break down some of our members' ads accounts, like live, right? It was totally free of charge. They donated their time, super, super valuable. These guys have managed millions and millions of dollars in ads. It was an awesome time. So that happened live in our Facebook group today. And then later on, I went and did a live training where I actually did a live breakdown of Dr. Axe's webinar funnel that he had been running. So over the past few webinar breakdowns that I've been doing inside of the Vault, I've been trying to go outside, like I've been trying to hunt and peck different types of webinars, right? Because I can go through and do millions of internet marketing webinars, but I'm trying to go through and get a whole wide variety. And when you do that, you find some really interesting things. For example, Dr. Axe today, I came across this webinar a few months ago, like 4 or 5 months ago now, and I kind of saved it, I put it on my radar, and I said, okay, cool, I'm going to come back to this because this is definitely one that I want to break down. So at that time, back in March, he was running paid traffic to that webinar. So I grabbed the ad, made a bookmark, and I was like, okay, cool. Whenever I'm ready, I'll go back and revisit it. Well, I haven't been targeted by that ad and haven't seen it since then. So today I went through and, I gathered all the materials and started to review it. I realized I hadn't been targeted on that ad in a very, very long time. And I did some research and I realized he wasn't running ads anymore. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. He was running ads, but now he's not. So I went on his website, went on his blog, and found that he was still advertising the webinar. He just wasn't running paid traffic to it. And I thought, interesting. So what's going on here? It's clearly converting for him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be running it. Or that's my initial thought, right? Because he's promoting it on his blog, right? There's millions of sources of traffic out there. And part of what I'm trying to do here is to show my members inside of the Vault that there are lots of different ways to get traffic to your webinar. Sometimes I feel like we're just stuck in this paid traffic world, even though paid traffic is my favorite form for, webinars and funnels. It's not the only form. right? Dr. Axe has literally millions and millions of site visitors coming to his website, probably way more than most of us listening, way more than me, definitely. I'll just speak for myself. But at the bottom of a lot of his articles, it was advertising the webinar. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I took a note of that as, a strategic, for strategy purposes as I was reviewing his webinar. So I broke it down live in the group today, which was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun because people got to see exactly how I think about these things. Like I'm talking to you now, like how I think about these webinars and how I think about strategy. Like, why isn't you running paid traffic to it? Why is it advertising the blog? Like, that's all things that I'm thinking about out loud. So I did that for a full hour and a half as I broke down and actually watched the webinar live in the group and broke it down live. And we discovered some really, really fascinating things as we were going through that webinar. Like, I don't want to spoil it all because it's I do the full breakdown in the webinar vault for my members, but I'm going to give you guys a little bit of teasers. I'm going to give you guys some teasers here. Like, one of the things that that Dr. Axe did in that funnel was like he actually paired up two funnels into one, which I thought was brilliant. And he did a couple of things that I wouldn't do. If you watched it today, if you watched it live today, you're going to understand what I'm talking about. But he did something, and he did it with his email funnel that I definitely wouldn't do. But the mega funnel was brilliant, and I loved it. I went through the entire email sequence and the follow-up sequence, and what people don't realize, okay? I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret, okay? When I build webinars, when I write webinars for myself or I write webinars for my clients, I am like, we put so much work and effort into crafting the messaging, crafting all the content and the angles inside of the webinar. And like, what people don't realize is like, when you create all that content for your webinar, like a webinar is like the ultimate form of content marketing, especially if you're relying on cold traffic. Like, if you design that with the intent to convert on cold traffic, you are creating like all of your cold, warm, and hot market content pieces, and use that in all of your marketing pieces. What I mean by that is like, when you are speaking to clients when you're speaking to prospects that are in a cold state of mind, like, you have to introduce them to who you are, right? So you do a little bit of introduction on who you are, your background, and you tell about the awareness, right? And same thing with warm and same thing with hot. Like, there's different elements that go into the temperature of the traffic. And when you build a cold traffic webinar, you're creating all of those elements. And so what's fascinating is, like, as I was going through this mega funnel with Dr. Axe, like, everywhere that there was content outside of the webinar, it was repurposed from the webinar. Okay. So his whole email sequences, it was all regurgitated from pieces of content that were inside the webinar, which is, it's what we do. I've just never verbalized it until right now, but that's what we do. And if you're listening right now, like, when you complete your webinar, you are completing way more other pieces of content. So like, all the pieces fall into place, and it's so like, that's the ultimate form of content marketing. Like, your webinar is the ultimate form of content marketing, right? Your email sequences can be extracted from different pieces within your webinar, like your registration page and your sales page. It's all extracted from pieces inside the webinar. So it's not like you have to craft and recreate all these different elements. It's all developed into one. So anyway, we cranked that out today. We did 2 live trainings today, and I wanted to just share that with you because I had a bunch of aha moments, and I've been preaching from the mountaintops for a very, very long time that webinars are the ultimate form of content marketing if you know how to repurpose it all in the right place. Okay, so that's my message for you today. I want to inspire you, right? Webinars can be used in so many places. There's so much use. You can get so much traction out of one single webinar. Don't treat it as just one piece of content. Treat it as like 15, literally 15. If you go through and you're inside the vault, you'll see what I mean by that, because his email sequence was like very, very long. It was a mega funnel, and it's all derived from the one chunk of content that is the webinar. Make sense? Okay, cool. So I want to inspire you. I want to have you rethink the way that you write webinars, not even the way that you write webinars, but the way that you utilize your webinars, and it will give you much more mileage out of your webinar than you ever thought possible. All right, so I just pulled in. So I just went to a movie with my buddy Keegan, and we saw the movie The Meg. It stands for the Megalodon, which is a giant, prehistoric shark. Anyway, it's super corny, but it was a very entertaining evening. I'm about to go in. I've lost my voice. I've been talking all day today, so I apologize for my little scratchy today, but had a blast. I love my members. I love my audience. We're doing some big things, and we'll wrap it up today. So appreciate all of you, and we'll talk soon. Take care.
Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to giving you the next one. You can also follow and watch the behind-the-scenes look at how I'm personally launching a brand new 6- and 7-figure product from scratch at soldwithwebinars.com/TV. And if you'd like to come hang out with other fellow experts, join our Facebook group at soldwithwebinars.com/experts. Join us next time, and I'll see you there.